You're a lot now. Told you to wait. Yeah, we live. Oh my goodness. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Damn, well. It's cold. That's gonna come out of there. Yeah, my screen sharing. Oh, I'm gonna go back. Stop. Go back and share. Share through speakers. Share. Let me know when I'm sharing. Can y'all see my screen sharing?
Yeah, you good.
Sharing real quick, man. We're gonna go ahead and kind of get started. Damn, I'm sharing shit.
Did you spray? I told her bring me some spray.
Tell Sutekh I'm finna get him in there. Dang, I put that in the wrong group. Here I come, Sutekh. All right. Y'all will get start holding me get Sutekh in here. Y'all share the show too.
You don't feel nothing.
I want to say ETM Hotep, Dua Duau, Dua Aku, Dua Necha, Fatmu Lafayette, Fatmu Iwa Riwi, Majuba Iba Ie Gungun, Majuba Iba Ie Gungun, Majuba Iba Ie Lakba, Majuba Iba Ie Lakba, Majuba Iba Igungun Kiki. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. Um, I want to say welcome back to Kofi Pie Side TV. We have Brother T'Challa Bangara, Wasa Nicolo Gullah, Niger Valley Congo, and Satepanra Mariaman. Fellas, before we get started, man, y'all got anything, man, for my brother jump into it?
Peace to everybody listening and the future audience. I don't have my computer in front of me, y'all, so I'm gonna be on my phone. So I'll just be listening more than anything at the moment. And peace to everybody on the panel.
Hey, peace to the fam. Alafia, like and share the show as you come in. Get ready to learn something. This presentation should be interesting. I've been waiting on it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, peace everybody. Glad to see my brother T'Challa back. Peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to the brothers on the panel as well.
All right. Again, those is in the chat. I ain't even looking at you. I'm looking at those that may be coming in. Please share the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend about the show. Or tell somebody. What I put it like this: tell somebody that you think that may be interested in this information. You know, if you feel like they may not be interested in this information, you don't even bother to try to share it with those that you know that may appreciate this information, may value this information, and trying to learn something about African culture traditions. The presentation, as you see up here, is West Africa, music in West Africa and the Malinke perspective by our good brother T'Challa Bangara. So I'm gonna turn it over to brother T'Challa. Like I said, those, well, I just put it like this, it's gonna be a pretty good interesting bill. Please take out the pens and paper, man, because I got mine sitting over here. And I hope, because he dropped some jewels last week, we had a discussion about some of the things. And, I learned something just listening to what he was talking about, but I didn't write it down, so I'm not gonna make the same mistake I did last week off the camera. So all right, man, go ahead, brother T'Challa Bangara.
Peace to everybody on the panel. It's always a privilege to be amongst like-minded individuals who, aspire to get a baby's a positive influence and a positive perspective on who they are in the diaspora. When Kofi and I initially met, he always found it interesting, my perspective that I'm coming with in terms of dealing with the music of the particular region in West Africa we deal with, talking about the Malian Empire, right? And really, before I go all the way in with that, let me, I got a few books I want to go ahead and show. I'm on my phone as well. I have yet to get a decent laptop myself, but I do have information in real time to show the people. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. And I don't know if it's showing me or what. Oh, that's because hey, brother Kofi, can you I don't know if it's because you screen sharing, but oh, you muted. I can't hear you.
I said, yeah, you need me to stop sharing?
Yeah, just for a few seconds, because I want to show. And actually, I'm gonna show this on screen. I'm gonna read this on screen out of these couple of books real quick.
Okay.
when we get to talk about. Yeah.
All right.
All right, let me see something here. Okay. So y'all can see me pretty good?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay.
You're trying to flex your lit green screen in the background. That's all you trying to do. Yeah, peace.
You funny.
Yeah, peace to
No,
everybody, man, in the chat.
okay. Let me see. See if y'all can see this. This book right here, got from a girl now. This little thing crazy with this green screen. But distinguished African American scientists of the 20th century, you know, as Black people immediately here in America and in the Western Hemisphere, a lot of us don't talk about our greatness right here on this soil. And, you know, I think that's very important, what we've done since we've been over here. And that book right there really go in. Books like that, we need to understand not just what's going on the continent, but also what we've done here in terms of the inventions and the contributions to science and mathematics right here on American soil. And the lane that I'm coming from in terms of my research and methodology is much like, y'all bear with me here with this. I don't know why it's popping up like that. Why it's not showing. Okay. And if I do this, there we go. Y'all can see. Got the Saber book. Kind of, I don't know what's going on with it, but y'all got the book Saber Researcher's First Handbook. It's an excellent book on methodology. And, you know, we definitely go in terms of understanding how to properly research and not just find something that agree with what we're talking about on the internet or in various books. Knowing how to do comparative analysis and, you know, learning how to accept the fact that sometimes the answer take a little longer to get there. And so if you don't have the answer right then and there, you can say you don't know. That's okay. You know, you'd rather say you don't know than to jump out there and to be like, oh, well, I thought I knew, you know. So now, as the title stated, we're talking about music in West Africa from a Malinke perspective. That's the Mandinka people, right? Mandingo, Mande, these are all words for these groups of people that you'll find really in that region of coastal West Africa, as we refer to it. When we say West Africa, that's a little broad and vague. You know what I'm saying? We got a whole lot of different West Africans, man. It's so rich. Even within the Mande culture that we about to go talk about today, it's a lot of different type of Mande peoples, you know. And one of the ways that I say us because based on many of us doing our DNA research, we understand that a lot of us have anywhere from 75 to up to 85, 90% West African DNA. And we know that the port of no return is most definitely located in West Africa, right? And a lot of us came off the continent out of West Africa. So this book right here is one of our Grandmaster Teachers books, the Tom Tam Manding Academy. Let's see what's going on with the screen here. I really can't see this book. And I don't know why the camera acting like that, but it's called, I'm gonna tell y'all the website. You can go and check out all of this information I'm about to present. So ttmusa.org. That's ttmusa.org. Okay. And that's one of the official websites. You can sign up, you can find classes you can take in terms of learning these particular instruments that we're getting ready to get into. Now, as I stated last time, Brother Kofi and I have done a couple of African drum presentations So if you haven't checked those out, go ahead and check those out. Was those on the Mossi or on Kofi Piesie, Kofi? Uh-oh, you muted, brother.
Yeah, I think I think we did two, didn't we? I think we did one here, and I think we did one on the Mossi. I think the first one we did was on the Mossi. We did on the Mossi Warrior Clan. And then I think we did, we touched something, and we did something, I think, on Kofi Piesie TV together, too. That might have been. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Yeah, we've done so much right now. Well, no, I don't know. It might have been here. No, it was on Kofi Piesie TV, and then we did the circumcision on my Warrior Clan.
Okay, cool. So I want to start off with Malinke proverb. I believe I put this in one of the presentations from this book. All right. If you can see it, if you can't, I know it's the green screen acting crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it. So it says, Nisewatiyen kantiye, right? And that means without music, there is no joy. Without joy, there is no music. That's a Malinke proverb. Okay. Music is everything for the Malinke people. It is literally like Brother Kofi talked about marriage in Africa and how the marriage ceremony is the most important ceremony. Okay. Well, no different than right here today on American soil when we have weddings. Is it there not a time where we got the music going while the people are eating their dinner and their food, and then they open up the dance floor for us to go ahead and boogie and get down? All right. This is a very, very important thing because music expresses your mood. It allows you to express any sort of feeling of positivity in the moment. And music is also used to accompany the work in the fields. It's used to celebrate when we have a successful time fishing at the river. It's used and nothing what I'm saying hasn't already been discussed generally.
Yeah, it's used when they reap the benefits from the crops at the end of the year they plant, and then when it's time to go reap the benefits, their music playing then when they're going to pick the crop,
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna read something, the forward in this book by Grandmaster Mamadi Keita, with his international Tam Tam Mending Djembe Academy. This is a school that he's founded that has branches worldwide. In Japan, they built an entire fortress, a whole tower just for djembe, because they take music that seriously. And I think as Black people, we ought to do the same with our own culture and traditions. So he says, traditional rhythms played with djembe and dundun patterns are not just musical elements for fun and recreation. These rhythms come with histories and traditions from the rich Manding culture of West Africa. Okay. For anyone playing the djembe, it is important that he or she learns it the correct way and be aware of its philosophy and discipline. My devotion to preserve Manding music and culture has led me to create a detailed and comprehensive curriculum and a system of training teachers whom I endorse to pass on the knowledge to the rest of the world. In doing so, it is to ensure that the rhythms of and information passed down to me from my lineage and master Karin Kanjan Konde are preserved, shared, and taught to anyone who is interested in these instruments. The djembe is an instrument without limits. It can coexist in traditional and modern settings. Whether you are a musician educator, drum teacher, rhythm facilitator, or performer using the djembe or dunun, I urge you to build your foundation in acquiring traditional rhythms and knowledge of these instruments in a progressive path. For it is only in this way that this craft can be preserved and can evolve to remain relevant for all future generations. Okay. So those are in the words of this master drummer who, without this one individual, believe it or not, many of us probably would have came into djembe a lot later, in terms of being able to play this instrument and know about it today. So that's the particular hand drum instrument. It's called djembe. All right. And I have two right over here in my corner, stacked up on top of each other. All right. That one on the bottom with the green rope, that's my first drum I ever bought. It's pretty heavy. And then I have another one. Come right here. Y'all can see this standing up in my case right here. I don't know if y'all can see it. I know the green screen kind of tripping, but that's my case with my other one of my other ones. All right. So let's get into kind of some of the specifics. Like when we talk about music, what exactly are we talking about here? What traditions are we talking about in West Africa that we can be seen online debating and giving information and presentations? And we talk about the tradition and initiation ceremonies, and you got to be initiated in these crafts. So what exactly is going on in these systems, right? So let me come to one that's got a little bit, okay, Soko, all right? This is in the initiation and circumcision rhythms section of this book. Soko from the Malinke ethnic group, all right? This rhythm is played 3 months before the date of circumcision. After this date is set by the elders of the village, the young boys of the village who are to be circumcised travel together to other villages to announce to their extended family members the date of their circumcision. Now, let me pause right there for just 2 seconds. And at any time, if any of the brothers want to jump in, if you want to ask questions, I want this to be kind of interactive. It was stated that the boys that are to be initiated travel to the other villages to announce to their extended family members the date of their circumcision. And I wanted to really kind of focus on this for a few seconds because I'm gonna go into a certain family of rhythms that deal with how young men settle their differences. And in terms of getting to that more communicable attitude with each other. You know, brother Kofi is miles away from me, very far. He don't live in the same state that I do. Brother Sutekh, every brother on this panel, they don't live in my area, all right? But they treat me as such, not unlike the attitude of these Malinke people as an extended family member. They ask about me when they'll see me for a while. They, wonder if I'm doing okay. And, it's the same thing going on here. You have these brothers traveling from village to village where they're announcing that they're about to go through the initiation to become a man. It's the transition into manhood. Here we might be going off to prom in high school. We might want to tell our friends to come by the house, take pictures, see you in your suit, see your girl dressed up in a dress, whatever little car you're going to take to drive to the prom. But for these brothers, they're being initiated. And there's a lot that goes into that, like the secret societies who are responsible for taking these brothers and sisters into the forest to be initiated. This is part of the role of these secret societies, who are the trusted elders of the village, who show the young ones how to do this thing we call life. They're not raised to be, oh, we just gonna be out here in Africa doing whatever we want to do, running around, just doing whatever. We talking about very sophisticated, complex communities with rules, social order, right? And character is at the center of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time they arrive at a village and announce to the date of their families, the families organize the dance of Soko and Kala, another rhythm accompanying Soko for them on that same night. And I hate that the green screen is really doing something funky, but let me see here. It's not even coming up.
Yeah, we can't even see it.
Man, that's crazy, but it showed me real clear. That's crazy. Because I got maps and everything all in this book of the particular region of what we would call Guinea nowadays, with these countries. But let me give a list of countries when I talk about the Malian Empire to show you what I'm reading from and what we're talking about. So the Malian Empire, which we're talking obviously the country of Mali, right? We have the eastern region, or would be the Tambacounda region of Senegal, because Senegal has its own drumming and dancing and singing tradition as well. So the Tambacounda region of Senegal, you have Guinea, you have Guinea-Bissau, you have Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, okay? You have parts of Burkina Faso, all right? And this is generally the big area of where djembe music is from, okay? Not to say that djembe is not played anywhere else, because today you can find djembe all over the world, but this is where it originates, all right? In that coastal region of West Africa, okay? And so let me go to, if anybody got anything they want to, question, if they want to say.
Well, you said, okay, when dealing with the young men doing the rites of passage, you said that they travel from village to village to announce they finna get ready to be initiated into their rites of passage. They finna go through their rites of passage stage of becoming from puberty to adulthood, to be recognized in their community as men or women. Once they announce, you said they will play, the musicians will play the drums until the young brothers are initiated.
What they will do is they'll organize a ceremony, excuse me, that night to play for them once they've arrived in the village.
Okay.
And yes, leading up to, excuse me, the ceremony itself, I mean, like I said, it starts 3 months ahead of time. It's a big deal. And the reason why it also, well, go ahead.
Because no, I was asking that is because, I mean, like, if certain ethnic groups, it's different days. It just depends on, like, it depends on how many days. Like, you may have in Nigeria, you may have they may be going through their rites of passage. It may be 2 weeks. Some it may be a week. Some may be 2-3 months. You know what I'm saying? Just all depending on what ethnic group you're coming from. So I was just asking, like, because I was like, wow, it is. They actually are, playing, you know what I'm saying, for those amount of time to those young boys get through with their initiatory, right?
I have a question, sort of related to this. If you can see where I'm going with it, maybe you can touch up on it with this. How important is what they call call and response in African music, from what you studied? If you know what I'm talking about, because that might marry itself into that current conversation of them announcing, they're about to go through certain rites of passages. And you can trace what they call and response through a form of music and connect it to African music here and there, in the Western Hemisphere and Africa.
Absolutely. That's an excellent question, Brother Vasa. So call and response, guess we can discuss that. We might as well go ahead and discuss some of that now. Like I said, I really hate that this green screen is not showing because I wanted to just show y'all in real time what this book has, but you can see all of this on the website. And if you choose to, purchase and support. But let's get into it.
Okay,
go ahead,
yeah,
bro.
my bad. Going out. My question, that was my question. I was trying to see were they playing all the way up until after the guys was initiated. Was they paying for the 2 or 3 months until after the young man was initiated, or they just played that particular night once they got to whatever village or tribe or community that they got to announce their rites of passage. They finna go through their rites of passage.
So what happens is the people who are playing these instruments are called the role of the one who plays the djembe is djembe fola. Okay. And you could probably get that spelling. You'd probably look up something like DJEMBEFOLA. Okay. And djembe is the instrument, and fola means one who makes it speak. Okay. Another thing you'll probably see is a djembe khan. So the word djembe, and then you may have KAN on the end. That's one who's the sound of the djembe. That's a demonstration on what the djembe sounds like. Okay. Yes, they're gonna be playing. They're gonna travel to the next village, and then they're gonna play that night that they arrive, and they'll have what's called a dunumba, which is a big party. Dunumba is also the name of one of the instruments that we play, one of the bass drum. Okay, and it's also a family of rhythms labeled dunumba that comes from the Hamana region in Guinea. Okay, in Central Guinea, West Africa. And that's the particular rhythm that I'm going to talk about, that family of rhythms that young men use to settle their differences. So instead of fighting and instead of trying to, gun each other down, murder each other, not to say that that doesn't happen, because I'm not a romanticist, but the way traditionally, we're talking about the traditions, when people follow the codes and morals and ethics, they're playing from these villages to villages. They travel village to village, and they play the night that they get there. This is going on throughout the entire 3-month process. Not to mention what's already just going on in each of those villages by themselves. So you have a rhythm called cuckoo, and that's for the rhythm for when they come back. The women go out and fish with these giant nets, and they go to the river and they fish. And if they have a successful time fishing, they come back with a net full of fish. We start playing cuckoo to honor the fact that, yeah, we get ready to eat good tonight. You know what I mean? And so there's music going on constantly, all the time in villages. You might be, traveling through a village or just sitting around, and you might just all of a sudden hear the drums just to get going. And what Vasa was asking to segue into the conversation is about the call and response. So how do we know when to start playing? What signals are we using to start our music? Well, that's your call. So you might hear what I mentioned before, like a djembe khan, and that's when the brother just started, just japping out, as we say here in Chicago. He just started, he started getting it in, start playing the drum, and what he's doing is he's calling on, the spirit of the ancestors who have come before him and honoring them, and he's thanking them for all that they've been through to lead to the point of him being able to play that drum right there in that moment. And this happens typically before any performance, and really just to call the drummers and to call the people of the village to come out because we get ready to get down. And it happens all the time. And so what you have is what we call the break, right? And that's to let us know when to start, when to change, and when to stop playing. Okay. No matter what ethnic group we're dealing with, there was a system that was created based off call and response to let you know that, hey, we getting ready to start playing. And because we got so many different kind of people, they're speaking different dialects in different languages. And so they had to be able to communicate. So you have the people that travel and deal with trade. There, of course, are multilingual because they're dealing with the different people traveling. And those that do travel from village to village, they grow up speaking those particular languages of the neighboring villages. So when they go there, like you might be Malinke from, like, I'm talking about upper northeast Guinea with the borders of Mali. And I'm looking at this map here. And say you're in the region, maybe you're in Balindugu, okay? So, and Bamako is right there at the edge of Mali, not too far from the borders of where Guinea starts. So if someone's from Bamako traveling down, you know, they might hit one of these regions around the Balindugu area. Say they travel down to the Bankon region, which is right there, or even the region, Corte Mali region, right there at the border. And so they might be able to hear some djembe music of Guinea flavor right there, although they're coming from Bamako and Mali. No different than you got hip hop from New York, and say you travel to Atlanta or somewhere and you want to hear some music, hip hop in the South, but you coming from New York. So you go down to Atlanta and you got different slang, different dress, slightly different this, slightly different that. You know, they cars, they might have bigger rims or however they do their thing in the South. But you recognize that coming from New York, right? And so it's the same thing with djembe music. You have people playing music in one particular village being able to be recognized in another village. And not to mention, you're dealing with Africa. And so it ain't like it's every, you know, a big major metropolitan, big old buildings blocking out sound. I mean, sound pretty much travels with open plains, you know what I mean? And is able to reach different villages. So we might hear your village doing their thing anyway. And they might call and announce that they're about to travel and come to that village. And all of this speaks to this sense of communism, if you will, that does exist in Africa. I know a lot of us talk about how divided Africa is, but you'd be surprised at the level of, like I said, extended family that they look at each other. Although they might not all the time get along, like, you know, we don't always get along, but there is a sense of, you know, family structure, and it's very strong, especially amongst the Malinke people. Yeah. So call and response definitely exists. It's definitely a big part of what we do. It's how we deal with our music, how we create our arrangements, our musical compositions. We might have a rhythm that may be, say we get a gig, it's a 30-minute gig. And so we might play 3 songs, and each song could be 10 minutes apiece, right? So within that 10 minutes, we have to structure what type of breakdown of the music we're doing, how long we're going to play. We might stop, have a little interlude, have an arrangement, come back to the music. We might bring dancers out. It's a very, very complex system. And let's see here. Go to some of these other rhythms. So I want to talk about. Okay, so I'm talking about rhythms dealing with agriculture and associated with profession. All right. Senefoli doesn't have much written on here, but that's a rhythm that's accompanying them in the fields. We have another family of rhythms called kasa. All right. The rhythm is traditionally played for farmers to encourage them as they work in the fields. In Malinke, kasa means granary. It is there that the corn is placed
after the harvest. So it's basically, you know, big basket, big something, you know what a granary is, and that's where you're holding your crops. And these are the type of things that I kind of want to rope into the conversation about when we get to talking about what is a deity, a god, and traditions and practices that are important in Africa. It ain't the same from the Abrahamic perspective that we understand in the West, even if we don't subscribe to an Abrahamic paradigm. Okay. God, spirit, worship, music, deification of any being, B-E-I-N-G, any being that is deified is directly connected to the ecology of the people. Okay. The type of wood that these drums are made out of, right? These trees. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the story of the spirit of the baobab tree. Very important West African tale right there. Okay. These trees are sacred, and we ain't just chopping down trees willy-nilly to build a bunch of djembes neither. Like, it's a whole, you got divination systems all across Africa, and you got respect that the elders are granting to be able to chop down a tree, to carve it, and to be able to make it.
Let me ask you something. You said the baobab tree, right? Can you find those in Mali? I know you can find them in Senegal because we talked about the baobab tree. I actually talked about it 2 presentations prior, back to back. I did a show on the Badek people in mountain. These are ethnic group that actually lived in caves. You know what I'm saying? You know, we always call the caveman. We always talk about the white man, the caveman, but Africans were the first people that lived in caves. So I did a presentation on a group that was in Senegal, and we did another presentation on Fataru. I did a presentation, and me and Ben did a presentation on the Siri people tradition called Fataru, and we talked about the baobab tree and showed being actually at one of those big old trees, and we kind of talked about the tree and a lot of benefits, but behind the tree. So they're not just only exclusive in Senegal. You can find those also in Mali, because like I said, that tree was very sacred, and I didn't know it was a lot of things that this tree actually provided, and it also was it was so sacred where it actually valued well. It the griots was, which we know the griots hold so many types of positions. The griots were actually buried in the baobab tree. They wasn't buried in the ground. They was buried in the baobab tree. So oh my bad, go ahead.
No, I would have to check exactly for the location, because when we get to talking about certain trees do only grow in Senegal. But even if, because, and let me just answer your question directly so I don't sound like I'm buck dancing like so many people. I'm going to tell you that I don't know if the baobab tree only grows in Senegal. I would definitely, that's homework for myself. But what happens is, let's just say that it does, right? Do you know that the tale of how sacred that is known all up and down in Guinea, Ivory Coast, all these other countries I named, just as if, even if it doesn't grow there. Why? Because like you said, the griots are buried at whatever big tree that land has, and it is treated with the same respect. Like, we have a tree called the Mordi Bayasa tree found in Guinea, and it's the similar thing, and it may even be of the same species or family of trees that grows that we're calling the baobab tree. I don't know, but it is definitely treated with the same sacredness, because what happens is the griots, which are the story keepers, of the tradition, they are pretty much the ones who are holding order in these villages. They're the ones that you're consulting when there's a problem, an issue. They're the ones who they represent the true essence of what an elder is supposed to be. Know there's this big thing going around right now about elders and who ain't who's elder. And let me tell you something. Djembe Fola is an occupation in West Africa. Like, you are paid. That's how you make your money. Okay. And although I don't go around village to village, I do go around the city of Chicago playing this instrument, teaching classes, doing performances, educating people about what does it mean to be African in any respect. What does it mean? And when I say African, I mean, going back to what I was saying about them being connected to their ecology. You hear Brother Unk talk about it all the time, but I'm gonna give you an instance specifically with something I got right here in my house. This particular wood was a very heavy wood that my first djembe was made out of. Okay, very, very heavy red wood. Believe it's called a jolly wood. And another wood that's used is a Molina wood, Molina, Molina. That's a wood that's much lighter. The drum is not as heavy. Okay. So these different trees grow in this sub-Saharan region of Africa, where they actually have the tools and the resources in their environment to create these types of drums. If you go up just north of Senegal, going in towards Morocco and all of that, you don't find djembe tradition. Okay, that's the desert, that's Sahara Desert. And so I bring this up because when you start talking about what's African traditions and what are these people studying, these people didn't do this, these people came from over here, these people was always here. The Numu blacksmiths, Numu, Numu, caste of blacksmiths, of the Malinke people are the ones who carved these drums. They're the ones cutting and chopping the trees, and they've gone through a whole initiation ceremony about being able to even deal with that tree to chop it down.
So the name of those other trees, we talked about the baobab tree.
Mm-hmm.
You named a few other trees. Then you just named the Numu. These are the people actually in charge at carving, cutting the trees down, and it's a process that they have to go through. So these other trees, well, I got two questions. So is these other trees that you named aside the baobab tree, which we know is sacred, those other trees are sacred as well? And that is the reason why these guys have to go through some form of initiation or something that you said, or some type of process in order to be able to cut down these trees. And then my other question is, do they actually pour libations, recite a prayer before they actually cut the tree down? Because I know if you look at other traditions, a lot of other ethnic groups does the same thing. It may not be for drums, it may be for housing or whatever particular reason that they may use the wood from the tree for. Excuse me.
Correct. According to Grandmaster Mamadi Keita, according to Grandmaster Famadou Konyate, Grandmaster Bolokata Konde, if you want to take a drink of water from the river, you ain't finna just catch a plane, get over in Africa, right? And just go and start eating, going to the market and just doing whatever, right? It's not to spook it out and to make it seem like you can't take a walk without asking for a prayer libation. But all of these things are very important when it comes to the very instruments that will be used to play in initiation ceremonies, the very instruments that are used to honor a successful harvest. They have their form of asking the ancestors for permission to go ahead and chop down that tree. They do pour libations. They are honoring the fact that we must continue our traditions. And there's a ceremony done for the sacrificed goat that will be the skin on top of the djembe. For the cows, that will be the skin on these various dununs. And being that we're dealing with blacksmiths, so right, when we talk about metallurgy and dealing with bending and shaping and molding metal, these are the the Numu are the ones that are in charge of doing so. And they are very crafty, very skilled workmen, not unlike, right, the scribes in ancient Kemet, who have to sit down and record and make sure things are accurate and correct on the king's behalf, and whatever other instances that the scribes may have had to, you know, do their thing. Everybody has a role. And I'm drawing that connection to say the Numu take their work very seriously when it comes to carving these drums. It's not no easy task. And not everybody in the village is involved, right? You got different things for everybody. Some people go out and fish. Some people go out and hunt. Some people are in charge of selling things at the market. So everybody has their role. And yes, libations are poured. You know, the elders are, you know, very much a part of what goes on with the village when it comes to making these instruments.
So is the Numu, so is the Numu, is they highly revered, and does these Numu, do they have like are they a clan by themselves? And what I mean by a clan, because a lot of us we get tribes and clans distinguished, because you may have one big tribe, but those tribes may be broke up into 4, 5, 6, sometimes 50 different clans within the one, you know, even with like, just go back to the Sira people is broke up into, I think, 4 or 5 different clans. And but when you look in African tradition, like when you mentioned the Numu and their specific task and their role and the process they have to go through in order to be a Numu, to actually carve and cut these trees down. These guys are selected for it. Like if you look at the blacksmiths, you look at certain people that's the hunters, other aspects of whatever the roles. Some of these roles may be highly revered in the community, and these guys have their own clan. Like you look at some of the ethnic groups, just going back to the blacksmiths, whatever it is called, it's its own clan, and these people are highly revered. So it's a class over here of this, it's a class over here for that. So where they put, you know, so I'm saying where they like in a class or a clan, you know, a clan of their, you know, a clan of their own, you know, hey, when you once you master such and such and go through the process, okay, you become a part of this clan over here, basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's like it's broken down. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I use the term Numu caste, as in caste, a caste system for your role in society. As you always talk about, brother Kofi, African societies, secret societies, and just different roles in African societies is very important. And the name, you know, the naming of such caste, so that you can understand to differentiate who's who in the tradition. And so we have the Numu being the blacksmiths. We know anybody who knows anything about African tradition, the blacksmiths play a heavy role in the people. Okay, that's your weapon making. That's your, and the Numu, they're not just dealing with drums and weapons. They're the craftsmen. They're the ones who are able to put, they put together. I've seen them do some stuff in real time. Africans that have come over here for a dance class, and djembe, something happened with the ring while he was tuning it where it warped and the ring got pulled way down. And it started to seem like it was pulling on the skin, and he took that thing out of class, did something around the corner. I didn't see it because I was still playing for class, and came back and his drum was okay. You know, it's not no hocus pocus. It's not no, as Brother Unk say, humana, 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 his drum was magically fixed. He had a method on what he did to make sure that his drum didn't completely break down. And so, yes, further going into your question, so that last name that I have on my name attached to Chala Bangura, right? Bangura is a very popular West African last name. Okay. It's, from what I'm told in the Malinke language, it means the panther. Okay. the Grandmaster Mamadi Keita, his last name Keita, Keita, just like I didn't mention this before, but you have the epic of Sunjata Keita when you're dealing with the Malian Empire. His last name, same last name, Keita, is the last name of the lion. Okay. You talked about griots, Brother Kofi. So a griot last name, Giabate, as in I mentioned, Grandmaster Famadou Konyate, that's a last name of someone who's from the griot family lineage. So all of these roles are tied to your family lineage,
Correct.
right? What your father and mother did, and that's what you will be doing,
Right.
right? And you go in depth on plenty of presentations about that, okay? And so I'm here. This presentation or this build, whatever you want to call it, is really about offering some more cultural nuances when it comes to West Africa and the specifics of these different ceremonies and initiations and the music, because that's a very, very important part of it. Like you can't just have, oh, I'm just gonna have you get in a discussion talking about what they do in West Africa, and mind you, that's a very broad term. And then you want to start talking about what they don't do in East Africa. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How are you sure what they're doing in West Africa? Amongst these ceremonies, what music are they playing? Just what rhythm are we talking about? And this is what I'll be sitting back on the sidelines watching these presentations, not understanding for those that don't go in depth, that want to argue about what is and isn't, what people migrated or didn't migrate. And they don't really know anything about in depth of these people, because you have to touch the music if you really want to talk about these people, because it's an integral part of these ceremonies that we're talking about. Trying to get to some of these other, this is what I wanted to talk about. I think I talked about this on the bill, but I want to talk about this particular mask. It's a mask rhythm. Masquerade is very important in Africa, African mask, all that, and there's a rhythm called Kakilambe, all right? And it says here that it's known to have the most important spiritual mask of the Baga people. Baga is another ethnic group of people. I mean, we're talking about so many different kind of people, right? So its rhythm is played every year when the mask appears from the forest to the people in the village. So does that mean that the mask all of a sudden just start floating out of the forest, out of the trees, and it just started, appearing to the, no, that's not what they're saying, okay? This will be the time when the mask will make important revelations about the present and the future. A priest of the mask would interpret this information, for the mask does not speak directly to the people. The Baga people look to Kakilambe as their god. Thus, it is a big day when the Kakilambe mask appears and everybody will come to listen. When everyone bowed, the mask would grow up to a height of 5 meters tall. Ropes are attached to the mask, with the other end of each rope held by a member of each family. The Kakilambe mask is also known to fight bad spirits in order to protect the villagers and their harvests. Today, Kakilambe is no longer played in villages, but Mamadi teaches the rhythm so its story and traditions are not forgotten. So it deals with the protection of the people as well. Sorsorne is another rhythm that is a mask or dance that deals with protection of the people. When you're going through a hard time and you want some protection, you might play some Sorsorne if you living in Guinea, West Africa. So that mask is first of all, anything in nature, these are Africans dealing with real world problems. They got the climate, they got drought to worry about, they got animals to fight against. In their indigenous practices, they are not spooked out, sitting on their knees somewhere praying, hoping that the Kakilambe god will magically take away their problems. That's not how they operate. You got the Numu making their traditional instruments and weapons and things to fight off any invaders and to fight anything, animals they might have to hunt, or you might have a lion that get rogue and loose, a panther, anything, cheetah, whatever that's going on. You talking about Africa. So you constantly fighting against the elements and other animals, not to mention the ants and different things on the ground. I know this is something that people don't talk about, but it's a very real problem when it comes to nature, because you can go out in your backyard and see a bunch of ants, and you might end up start having an ant problem, being that we're coming into the spring in your own household. How do you deal with that? If you're dealing with that in modern times, what you think they're dealing with in the bush? You know, they got houses and things, but they also got the same, they're more connected to nature than we are. You got women walking miles, carrying buckets of water back to the village, carrying baskets on their head full of all types of things. We're dealing with real world problems, and that's what the Kakilambe mask is to address. It's a human being who's been initiated. Can't know anybody in no African village just put on a mask and start dancing and be honored as the Kakilambe. It's not how they go. All right. We have to slow things down and understand that there are times and places for everything, and you have to be initiated into these roles. If your family is not a part of the masquerade dancer lineage, you won't be doing that. Mm-hmm. You'd be doing something else. Okay. We mentioned the griots, Brother Kofi, and I know we went in depth with our African drum presentations and music presentations, but I kind of want to mention some of the. I'm gonna get an older version of this book out because it talks about that the particular griots and things, and I have it highlighted here. And again, if anybody else, anytime they want to ask a question, some of the other brothers on the panel, whoever, y'all jump in at any time. So we have the griot, right? The term griot means one who belongs to the caste of musicians and singers. At the time of empires, they were either court musicians or touring musicians, similar to European bards in the Middle Ages. In the different ethnic groups, these musicians have different names. Among the Malinke and Bambara, they are known as Yeli or Jali. In Senegal, their name is, I don't want to mispronounce it, Ghoul or Jewel, like Gewel. Okay. They all have in common early education and training as children in their respective families, with the boys receiving additional training in the playing of instruments such as the kora or the bala. The kora is basically an old African harp, right? And the balaphone is basically the granddaddy of the xylophone. Okay, it's a big old thing, right? And so they memorize and recite endless texts, among those the genealogies of the dynasties and the history of the empires, as well as their wars and conquests. One of the best known griots is Daikuma Dua, the griot of the legendary Malinke king Sunjata. His melodies and words are handed down in the hymn of Mali, a song which is deeply anchored in the memory of the Malinke, and to this day is often performed as it is regarded fondly. Okay.
Okay, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we still talking about the griots, right? Well, hey, that's more or not. It's more. It may not be a question. Okay. The griots, just throwing some information out there. The griots, we know the griots. You mentioned, and those who studied the griots know that the griots had many roles, and you're talking to them in an aspect of the music. You mentioned the kora, you mentioned the balaphone, and then they also use I think you mentioned it too, the igona. So those are the three, but the kora is the most popular that you will see the griots with. And the griots are historians. You know what I'm saying? The griots keep all of the history of the community, past and present. And the griots are storytellers. The griots are teachers. And the griots use music, because we're talking about music. On the music aspect, it goes back to oral tradition. And that's something I've been trying to beat in people's head too lately, is about tradition, because oral tradition has more than just mouth to ears. I'm speaking from my mouth to someone's ear. That's far from it. Oral tradition, again, like I said, is broken into 3 different categories. And one of the aspects of using oral tradition was through the music. They was able to teach, because the griots are teachers. They was able to teach through the music, because when you go back to the music and you talk about masquerades, we're talking about music and performance, like performance arts. You know what I'm saying? Like in school, we got performance arts, you got the music, and you got people that are moving and demonstrate, and some of them are telling stories through the movement and through the music. And this is the same way that the griots were actually teaching people about some of the traditions and the customs in their tradition or in their particular ethnic group. You know what I'm saying? And this is oral tradition as well, but it was through the music, through whatever aspect of instrument that they was playing, whether it was even if it wasn't a griot, you see it when they utilized the drum, or if the griot was utilizing the kora, or what's the name, and they was dancing. The griot was also singers, so they was also teaching them, by playing the instrument and singing as well. So this fall up under oral tradition as well. So they was teaching them about their traditions, customs, or educating them through the music.
Absolutely. Again, you based on your family, you're gonna be playing the kora or the balafon, or you're gonna be a djembe fola, or you may be, you know what I mean? You're gonna have a different role in society, and that music is, no matter what your family occupation, is a very, very important part of what you do. Um, Music is played at every single instance in the village. And again, not unlike Black people here, when we get together, 9 times out of 10, somebody going, man, go ahead and put the music on, no matter what the occasion is. Black people are always dealing with some type of music somehow, some way. All right. And when music is supposed to be a source of information and storytelling and things like that. It's a lot of extra going on nowadays, but we're not going to get into all of that. Point being, we're supposed to know that music is supposed to be is your way of being able to express to the world what's going on with you and your people. Excuse me, y'all. I'm just got through baking some fish myself a little while ago before we got on here, so I'm just putting this up. But we're getting ready to talk about what the importance of the rhythms in a few minutes in terms of what music means in Africa. There's a particular little section here in this book that I'm getting ready to read from. Put this fish up real quick.
It's Cajun.
No, I ain't going to Cajun New Orleans it out there. Kofi. Maybe next time I might go ahead and do it.
Back here they say if it's Cajun, it's bird.
You trying to say I can't cook, man? Yo, Kofi was trying to bang on me. Let's see here. Okay, so it talks about the function of music in West Africa. Okay, I want to kind of go in about that a little bit because people may or may not be hip to how important all of this is. So, let's see here. Unlike in the Western world, in Africa, music is neither a form of art nor is it played for its pleasure or entertainment value. Let me read that again. Unlike in the Western world, in Africa, music is neither a form of art or played for its pleasure or entertainment value. In Africa, music is a part of the way of life. It has always had a great social and cultural significance. It is an expression of delight and love of life at festivals and weddings, of elation and pride at ceremonial events, of emotion at religious ceremonies, of coziness at the domestic hearth, of the power of pure love, and of creative power or courage. And that's a passage they cited here out of C. Mbabi Katanga, page 192. I'm gonna want to read this next section or two because it really explains what it's talking about here. Traditional music is a lively example of the cultural heritage of Africa. It has its roots in centuries-old customs, rituals, and ideas. Music summons the spirits of the ancestors. It accompanies the rendering of oral history, stories, poetry, family, trees, proverbs, and legends. Now, for 1 second here, I want to talk about, because it brought up that word spirit, talking about it summons the spirits of the ancestors. And you hear us talk about that a lot, especially those of us that really get into African traditions. We talk about the spirit of the ancestors, right? What does that mean? Again, we're not talking about some spooked out being that you could only see at certain times or can't see, and it somehow acts and interferes with the affairs of man. No. To the Malinke people, when I read the forward in this book here by Grandmaster Mama Keita, he mentioned his grandmaster. And whenever he does a djembe khan or demonstrates the sound of the djembe, he's calling the spirit of his teacher who has made his transition, meaning the energy in which his teacher would play, the intensity, the speed, the style of phrasing, what he's choosing to say with his instrument, right? Because we speak when we play these instruments, like we're not just playing a bunch of good music that sound good with the rhythm. And no, we're actually expressing certain flavors of different regions of people, how they play these different rhythms. And we might play a particular musical phrase that some people in the Wassalon region play that ain't necessarily played in the Sigurdi region, that may not necessarily be played in any other region, like the Baga people's region off the coast. When we talk about Balindugu, that's northeast part of Guinea. When we talk about the Baga people, that's off the coast of Guinea. But they all have a concept of spirit and what it means to honor that such thing, that word. And it is more about, you know, did you play how your grandmaster teacher played? Did you come forth with the same energy that he played with? Not some spooked out spirit that you waiting to save you from your reality.
That kind of made I'm following exactly what you're saying, because when we go back to spirit, that's energy or force that is doing work. You know what I'm saying? So you saying that y'all playing with that same energy, you know what I'm saying? Or that same force, y'all playing with that same. Y'all playing at the same level that. Well, just the same. Yeah, y'all playing with the same energy of the person that came before them. I kind of get what I get what you're saying, especially when we talk about spirit, because again, a lot of us when we talk about spirit, we get spooked out, like you said, with the word spirit. But in African traditions, we don't look at it in the aspect of what Western society look at, or what Western society definition may be. So yeah, that's kind of I get what you're saying.
And it's so when we talk about, like, when we're trying to learn this particular style of music, djembe music, we have to remember that we come to it with a Western ear. And by the way, I kind of I'm gonna put a shameless plug in here. I actually filmed a small part for an independent film, a little short scene. a couple of my teachers here in Chicago and a few other group members that I play with, we did this a few years back, and we're actually in a movie on Netflix. It's the story of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama meeting and their encounter here in Chicago. And so there's a scene where they're walking in the park and we're playing in the background. And I'm saying all of this to give reference to people want to get an idea of what style of music that I'm talking about. The actual drums that were used in the movie Black Panther, the drum music are the style of drums that I play. Okay. This is the style of drums of the Mande people, Malinke tradition that we're talking about today. There was a particular drum that was used throughout that film. It's called the talking drum, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very important instrument that has its own, like that's a whole separate show. Just the talking drum by itself. It's a whole show.
We might need to do something on that, man, on the talking drum, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very powerful instrument. Literally so much so that when we talk about communicating, it is literally a particular dialect. You know what I mean?
And that's why I say what I say. It is the first form of communication. I say this is the first cell phone. You know, I can call you and you stay way somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't want to get into it because we need to do a show on that, man. But, you know, like I said, the drums is the first form of communication. Drums are the first form of communication. And if we do a show on the talking drums, you'll kind of understand what even if you should, if you go back and look at one I did, the one that me and T'Challa did, the one that me, Ben, and Shawn did, but specifically the one with me and T'Challa did, I mean, you'll understand. You will, or even if you study the Atlantic slave trade or the slave revolts. If you go and study some of the slave revolts, you'll kind of understand what we're talking about because they did certain things in order to communicate with other different, other people on other plantations. So that, man, we need to do something on that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say this about the talking drum. We have, for those of us that are familiar with any type of military background, who have served or know somebody who's served, or have watched any of the many Hollywood movies that talk about Morse code, right? Morse code, being able to communicate your position on the battlefield, what's going on, you done ran out of supplies. All of these things are communicated. The talking drum, the level of sophistication can be looked at in the same light based on we're communicating specific tones and sounds and mechanisms of speech that we have in the human body. We're able to duplicate those things with these drums because we've fashioned them as such. Okay. If you really want to get that curious, those that are listening, you can Google talking drum and you'll be sitting there for hours looking at how these brothers and sisters play these instruments. It's very, very complex. And so getting back to finish off this passage, music is omnipresent in African life. It accompanies activities such as farming, fishing, hunting, and crafting. Each segment of life, birth, childhood, puberty, wedding, funeral, is accompanied by music. Okay. My whole point was to give a perspective of when you start talking about the traditions of certain people and what they did and didn't do and what they do and all this, that, and the other. Okay. Because we deal with things with a fine-tooth comb in some aspects, and then we completely forget about other aspects. We don't even mention them. And so if I want to talk about what West Africans do and where they come from and their traditions, and if they're related or if they have a connection to another part of Africa, any part of Africa, it might help if I go ahead and know a little something about their music. Like, being that Africans are musical people globally, we're talking about storytelling. Their cosmogony is encompassed in the songs. They're not just out here saying, oh, well, we just come from, or we've always been here, we came from over here, just an everyday conversation. No, you want to get that knowledge, you might be able to, you know, get granted permission to go and sit amongst, you know, some of the elders and have them kind of, you know, tell you a few things. But for you to really know, like in depth, exactly the history of the people, man, you might go to a performance, say you visit in West Africa, or say you're looking at some footage on YouTube and you see some people singing and dancing, and they got a choir playing, they got the balafon playing. That song that's being sung and what's going on, the man might be talking for 45 minutes, singing for 45 minutes. He's telling you their history at that moment. He's talking about where the people come from, how long they've settled in that area. Yep. These are the griots that you want to seek out to find out how long a people have been in a particular area. Yep. I'm not here to make any claims other than stay in my lane of this particular right here with these Malinke traditions. I don't talk about how long they've been there, how long they haven't been there, and who they're not related to and all of that. It's not my lane. I can tell you what music they play. And I can tell you that, for one, to be able to play these instruments, another part of African traditions we don't talk about is the pain tolerance that has to be built up with these ceremonies and initiations, be able to play these instruments. My hands are calloused for playing djembe and from working out at the gym. But a lot of it is due to playing this particular instrument, because not unlike a Shaolin monk, I'm hitting my hand on a hard surface constantly. That's a wooden surface with a piece of animal skin stretched across it. It ain't much cushion of that wooden surface for that animal skin in my skin. I feel all of that wood. And so my hands become hardened. And it speaks to also part of the character development and molding, because it takes discipline to sit and to get good at a craft and to endure a little bit of pain, because we know that life can be harsh. And so we must, even the dancers that dance the dance steps, they're dancing on the earth. Anybody who does any style of dance knows how rigorous it is on the body. We're a very musical, athletic, acrobatic, very, we don't live sedentary lifestyles traditionally with these villages. We're supposed to get up and move around and do things. And all of this has a part to play in how we govern ourselves. The discipline to sit there and learn to play an instrument for hours at a time throughout the day. You want to be able to get up and get to the next song the next day. You ain't got time to be going out here trying to, do whatever. You have those that break rules and laws and things, and they're dealt with accordingly in the village. But it is a very disciplined thing because it is tied to your family lineage. So you don't want to shame your family by not becoming good at the kora, by not becoming good at the balafon, by not being able to play talking drum and so forth. You want to be able to go into these things and play these instruments to keep the tradition of your people. And I like to say that that's what we're doing on these channels and these platforms. I kind of look at us as the griots of the West, carrying on the torch and the traditions of said peoples that some of us don't even know exist. Got the same blood running right through our veins. Don't want to claim it, want to be everything else but African. These are your traditions. These are your things. This is exactly what we're forbidden to play in this country. Being kidnapped and brought over here. And then eventually, we get to plan it. And We have what's called the backbeat drummer shuffle. It becomes the blues shuffle. 6/8 backbeat rhythm for anybody that plays set drums. And then that evolves into a whole nother song and this and that. Before you know it, we got what we call in blues. We got what we call in jazz and ragtime and all of these other wonderful things that have been birthed based off of our West African lineage. Sound like somebody opened their mic. Might want to say something?
Yeah, you can, T'Challa, you can even tie that into pirate chanties, which was kind of the reason why I first initially asked how important is call and response, because through call and response, they connected your Negro spirituals or your slave spirituals to pirate chanties. And you can just keep going on and on and on. One, Kofi, that you might like right now that's being studied is in Colombia through the Cimarroons, and they got a music called Poro down there. And no one really knows where it comes from. They just say it's a Caribbean, African, Indian mix style of music, and it's called Poro. Some call it Poro Kumbe.
Poro Kumbe.
Mm-hmm. But what's that sound like? That Kumbe word? Don't that sound like you can eventually over time mutate that to Kumbaya? Just let it play with it. Because when you start looking at the definitions of what these mean and you find out where it is, you always find Africans there. And you always find them using it as a tool or a medium to hide runaway slaves. It's always there. And it just mutates. I can't connect all the dots, but through music, I found this.
Yeah, music is an African tradition is very, you know what I'm saying, very, very important, man. And what you just did was validate a lot of the information that I talked about on the oral tradition. You know what I'm saying? It's not for basically an entertainment, entertainment type thing. It is for learning purposes. You know what I'm saying? It is for teaching purposes. It is for continuing to show and teach people about their culture and their traditions, to keep their traditions going for generation after generation after generation. So music is very important, and it is one part of oral tradition.
Real quick, I know I mentioned the Dunumba. That word is used so vastly and so greatly with the Malinke tradition. So you have the djembe drum, right? Then you have what we call dunun drums. Okay, those are the drums that we play with sticks. That's like your foundation. Those are your bass drums. They provide the foundation of the rhythm. Djembes are accompaniment, and the lead drummer who calls out the breaks to signify the changes of the dance steps, the start of the music, the tempo of the music, when we're going to go to an arrangement, and when we're going to end the rhythm. Now, you have the word, so I mentioned dununs, then there's typically a family of 3 with the Guinean tradition. In Mali, they have 5 dununs, but in Guinea, they have 3. So they have a kinkani, they have a songban, and then you have a dunumba. And there's that word, dunumba. The BA suffix is big in Malinke. It means big. Okay, dunumba. And it's usually the biggest dunum with the deepest pitch. Now, dunumba is also a big party, a big gathering. Black people have dunumbas all the time, everywhere that they are on the planet. Dunumba all the time. Barbecue, whether any big gathering, it's a dunumba. Okay. And also it is a family of rhythms specifically for the young men to settle their differences. The strongman dance is what it's called. And so you have your warriors and your hunters and just your able-bodied strong men of the village that come together and I mentioned this to Brother Kofi last week about the movie Breaking, and where you had them dance offs where you get into it with somebody and they what, and then they just start busting out pop lock. You know what I mean? And that was that culture in that time, and that is exactly what you have here, where we have a family of rhythms, and there are hundreds of Dunumba rhythms, and it is for that purpose, to help ease that male testosterone and that feisty sort of primal animalistic nature that we all share. Might have got a jealous on one of the other brothers. Say me and Kofi and Brother Vasa went out hunting, and Brother Sutekh and Sutekh didn't like the fact that we came back with a little more game than they did. So what do? Oh, we ain't gonna fight? No. For what? We got enough problems. We got enough of the hot sun and the bees and everything else to fight against. We gonna have a dance off. We have a big Dunumba tonight. And all of the whole village will be there. And we have all of the drums you can think of and all of the food. The women that went down to the river, they done had a successful time at the river. So we played cuckoo earlier that day. And then tonight, because the men went and had a successful time hunting, we gonna settle who's the best hunters. And we gonna dance it off to the music.
And I'm a centipede. Right. I'm a centipede all over Sutekh.
Yo. Oh man. Yeah, that's because that's the spirit of, when you talk about spirit, that's the essence, the energy that's doing the work that you want to come forth with. Because we got another time to do it tomorrow, the next day. We got to hunt the next day, right? We got to secure, we got to make improvements on our house the next day. My roof is kind of shabby over there, so I might have to call on these brothers to come help me fix them up. So I don't want to go and fight these brothers if I have a disagreement with them. We just go ahead and have a dance ceremony, if you will. And that's the traditional way to settle the differences. Again, that ain't to say that that's always what goes on, because, we are dealing with human beings and, we do what we do. But that is typically how it is settled in the villages.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you crazy, Kofi.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about Brother Sutekh, but I ain't dancing it off. We gonna have to square up. We'll be friends.
Hey, Sutekh. Nah, man, don't be mad because you wasn't included on that one presentation, man. It's okay, brother. You know.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was some good information, man. It was some good information, man. Oh, and I've been looking forward to, shit, man, Sutekh, because when you was talking about it last week, man, you gotta come and do something on it, man. And then, like I said, I'm glad you did it, because it was, now, people, I mean, it validated, you just validated what I was talking about when I was doing my oral tradition, when I was breaking down this one category of one category of oral tradition. And now you know that, music, what I'm saying, and singing, or music in totality in general, is very important, in African African traditions. And pay attention, when you're around, you just might learn something. So like I said, man, this was good, man. This was good.
Yeah. You can also find, if you can look this music up on YouTube. It's all over YouTube for those that really want to, and here in Chicago, I play with a few different groups. I've been doing this 13 years. I started in high school, joined the After School Matters program, back when Maggie Daly was really running things and doing things in Chicago, for those of you that keep up with politics. And she did something good. A politician that actually made a difference and made an effective change in a Black man's life was with that program. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for that program, I probably would have found it maybe a different way, but that program has produced many local artists that, and they don't just do African drumming, like there's all different kind of programs for the kids, things that are being taken out of these schools. And that's why I do the work that I do, to help, you know, at least try to give some type of perspective on what does it mean to be Black? What do Black people do? And to connect who and what we're doing today, some of the things that traditions that we may not be hip to that also do what we do, and some of the things that maybe that's where we got it from and don't realize it. You know, just some type of positive influence, something that they can look to.
Yeah, I was laughing at how you talked about cuckoo and how it was more of a celebration type music. You know, I think you said women would go fishing, come home with a nice catch, and the music of the night would be cuckoo. It made me think about your Bay Area and how they say they about to go dumb.
Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah. And it's right there, all that aggression, you know, how you was talking about battling, but doing it in a different way other than physically harming somebody. You got your whole crunk movement and how they was doing that. So it's there for these babies to find, you know. So
You and you know, you just made me think of something, Vasa. Y'all remember
I made you think.
What was the Crumpin? You know, they had this thing in LA, the crump dancers, and it just and you're talking about how, you know, instead of being aggressive with each other and fighting each other and killing each other, we will have these dance off, right? I don't know, in the Crumpin, you know, it was real big maybe about 10 years ago, and I watched the whole documentary on the Crumpin thing. It was based out of California, or it might have been in the Bay Area somewhere, somewhere in there, Oakland. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I watched how they had two different and this one guy, Tight Eyes, he's actually traveling and doing the dancing with the crump, and a lot of the moves, and they will wear the painting on their faces, you know what I'm saying, the paintings, the different kinds of like tribe, but they didn't know anything about, you know, what was going on the continent now. And they was, how they was moving and they was dancing, they was battling each other. You had the clowns was one of them. Well, they dressed up with the paint, but they had, it was kind of funny, like the clown type of thing. Then they had the other group. They was all together, but they was always putting these big functions. They was taking kids off the streets and they're teaching them how to dance and battle with this new style of dancing that had got popular over the time. And then throughout the documentary, they I guess, I don't know, whoever was doing the story on it, and then put the end up, I guess, went to them to put the document some of the big battle that they had did, and showing them in the neighborhood, and the guy would pull up in the truck and the van, and they would jump out and they would dance, and in the community. And then they started showing in the documentary, they started showing other African ethnic groups in Africa, and they were showing them with the paint. Like, and one of them I can remember was the Nuba people, and they were having some of the same types of designs in the white paint over their face. And again, these brothers in the California area didn't know nothing about dance off. They was dancing off in Africa, and the paintings, the paintings and the markings over their face, and the techniques on how they move their body, you know what I'm saying, and stuff. And they started showing it and started showing them in the documentary, you know what I'm saying, hey, they doing this over here. And this is where y'all, this is, they were just saying, okay, well, it's been in, basically, it's been in y'all all the time. Look at how they moving. And they were showing these different ethnic groups, and like I said, with the paint and how they was moving, and some of the same moves that this new style of dance that was called crumping out, man, they was doing the same thing in Africa, man. Some of the same things over there, man, and that what made me think about it when he mentioned cuckoo and going dumb in the Bay Area, and then you started, you know, you was talking about, you know, they would settle differences and stuff like that, you know, the disagreements by having dance off in Africa, man. I just, you know, and that just made me think about that documentary that I watched. People don't
That go for that documentary. It's called Rise.
yeah, right.
Rize.
Yep, that's the name of that show is, man. Like I said, it was probably like 10 years ago, man. It was real popular. And then it got so popular, you started to see Chris Brown do it. And then it actually made its way into the movie what's the name of the movie that Chris Brown was in, and then they did a part 2. Chris Brown got killed in it, but they went on and did a part 2 to it too. What is it? Where the brother was, you know, he was dancing. Chris Brown got killed in the movie. What is the name of that movie, man? I'm finna Google it right now. Huh? Stomp the Yard. They had a Stomp the Yard 1 and a Stomp the Yard 2, and you can see them actually. You can actually see in the beginning. You can see Chris Brown was crumping in it, and then you can see his brother was crumping in the video, and then in part 2 when he went to college, you know what I'm saying, he was crumping in that video too, when he started teaching the neophytes some of the dance steps, and they was using the crumping, and you know they was actually crumping in there, like I said, those movements or that different style of dancing that they was using. I'm saying, and that same style of dancing they was doing over there, man, in Africa, man. I just, you know, that was just interesting. And I mean, that just made me think about it, man. You know, we be doing things, man, and we don't even know, you know, where we getting it from. It's in us all the time, man. We be thinking it's something new, but it's something, man, we've been doing for so long, man. It's just, you know, it just in us, man. And yeah, but that just made me think about
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with like the circuses and things, because you
Yeah.
know what goes on in these Dunumba circles and in parties, you'll have a contortionist that come out in the middle of the circle, and he done twisted his whole back arm and everything all out of place while we playing our music. And even right here locally, dance classes that we host and different things, like Black History Month just ended, and right at the beginning of the month, one of the first shows we had boys and girls, they come out, they just start flipping in the middle of the school. You know what I'm saying? And it speaks to wanting to be acrobatic and moving and all of that. That is deeply rooted and connected to how, and I'm not being pseudo here, I'm just going based off of the music that I've been playing and traditions I've been learning, that is how the particular Black people I've been around, that's how we express ourselves, right? You can be chilling in whatever, you know, say you live in Detroit or you live in, you know, Mississippi, Atlanta, Chicago, New York, wherever you at in the United States, and you've been then had some music turn on, and your son or your nephew or somebody little, whoever, he just started, you know, breakdancing, spinning on his head and doing whatever else. Out of nowhere, you ain't never even know he could do it. He just started doing it, you know. You could even tie double dutch into that, with how the girls, you know, I done seen some girls do some amazing stuff with double dutch, you know. All of that is connected into how we express ourselves musically.
Y'all, let's got something, man, on the panel, man, before we end the show. Anybody in the chat got any questions for Brother T'Challa? You know, before we end the show.
I mean, I'm just learning. This is a good piece right
here.
Yep. Give us some drummers you like, T'Challa, for the audience to, you know, kind of peep and pay attention to, whether it's traditional African drummers or, you know, the more pop culture of Americas that they might be able to identify. if you have any.
Mm-hmm.
Like me personally, I'm always gonna throw out Sheila E first. I just got to. That was my first crush. But I think it was because she played the drums. That was the first time because my dad played the drums. So the first time I seen a female and I was a kid, I just gravitated towards her swiftly.
Don't sleep
Yes,
on
sir.
my man, Questlove too.
Yeah, I like Questlove.
Yeah. I mean, if people don't notice, but you know, if you really research the musicians behind Motown and really knowing their story and who they are, man. I mean, if you could just look up some any early you know, blues and jazz or anything. You know what I'm saying? You definitely got your more popular um people should know the name Miles Davis. Okay. People should know the name Coltrane. People should know who Jimi Hendrix was. People should know just black people doing excellence. Duke Ellington. You know what I'm saying?
Rock with old John Coltrane.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Coltrane is the business right there, man. And so as far as West African though, like I mentioned, the Grandmaster Mamadi Keita. Um, and if need me to spell it, that's Mamaady, and then his last name is Keita, Keita. Okay. You could put his name in YouTube, Google, any search engine. And many others will come up. As soon as you put his name in, it's gonna be a whole bunch of others that come up. But yeah. Definitely appreciate you brothers letting me come on and you know, just give a little bit of my little knowledge, you
Man,
know.
this is your home, man. What is you talking about, man? You here anytime you want to come, man. Shoot you anytime you want to come or anytime you want to do something, man. This is your channel. This is our channel, man. So we just glad you back, man. We just glad you back, man. We appreciate, man, the information that you presented today. I was so happy. Like when you told me you was gonna do something on this other day, when you told me, man. So man, we just glad to have you back, man. And you know, hoping that we'll be able to get some more information, man. Hopefully we'll be able to get some articles, some articles from you, man. Hopefully we'll be able to get that book, you know. So, we glad you just, again, we just glad you're back, brother. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah. Definitely coming with them going into the article route because I need to get this book finished this year myself. Everybody seemed like they putting their works out. So I need to make sure that I'm coming from the perspective and lane that supports the information wave that we putting out here. And coming from my lane of tradition in West Africa when it talks about God, spirit, customs, tradition, worship, deities, music, the whole nine. And this is the lane that I'm coming from. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Kofi, you already know I'm gonna be sending something to you as far as the first article is probably gonna be just talking about again, kind of like what this discussion was, music in West Africa. I might pick a particular rhythm and talk about, I might even do, the Dunumba family of settling differences and what that means in West Africa.
Yeah.
Seeing that we got a problem with character in the community, everybody want to disrespect everybody. So I might just go ahead and do that, and I'll definitely be sending that to you to look over, for the fact checking and all of that.
Yeah, man. I got you, man. I got you, man. Yeah, we're gonna be looking forward to. Let me share my screen too, man, real quick. So let me get back over here first. All right, let me get on back over here. Let's go back real quick. All right, now That's him right here. That's T'Challa, right? That ain't, you know, where y'all see what he look like now, but that's the young whippersnapper, right there, the little young whippersnapper, right there.
You funny, Kofi.
Yeah, and but you know, again, this year, you know, you got Kofi Piesie TV Family and Affiliate Research Team, and that's a group. You know, we talked about, you know, everybody kind of reintroduced themselves. You know, most people kind of know because we, you know, we've been they've been doing stuff on the channel. They've been on Mossi. They've been, you know, they, you know, wherever. Most of the time, you see me and Shawn. You see them as well, man. But you got Shawn and Sutekh and Rob, myself, T'Challa, who's spoken right now, Vasa Nicolo, and brother Sutekh, who is newest member over here. Um, and you know, just be on the lookout, man. You know, just try to support us, man. When we, you know, whether we, you know, we doing the presentation or we doing the articles. I hope, you know, we can get everybody on, you know, to write an article. You know, it's important, you know, to put stuff on paper too, man. So, and each one of these guys, like I say, is talented in their own right. So, you know, support Kofi Piesie TV, support Kofi Piesie family, and family and affiliates research team, which is these guys that you see up here on the screen. So anytime you see something come across your timeline that Kofi Piesie is live, it's probably gonna be one of me or one of these talented brothers right here. Anytime you see a new article that may be published, um, you know, just, you know, pay attention because hopefully we'll be able to get some added to Kofi Piesie TV written compositions. I have quite a few on there. Vasa Nicolo had one on there. And you heard it from brother T'Challa. You know, he's gonna write one maybe on. Hopefully, I think that'll be dope if he do that one on selling differences. Do the dancing, the battling. Make sure you put me in that centipede on everybody. And you know, Sutekh, I know he mentioned about doing one. Shawn said he was finna, you know, write one. Hopefully Voss will be able to work on one, but right now he has a, you know, a great one on there. Y'all check that out. Hopefully we can get Sutekh to you know, get in there, man, and write an article or something, man. So just, you know, be out, you know, just be on the lookout, man, for Kofi Piesie TV family and affiliates, man. We appreciate the support, man. Hope y'all continue to support us. You know, and I'm also a member of Kofi Piesie, not Kofi Piesie TV, where I am a member of Kofi Piesie TV family and affiliates. So again, you know, like I said, please support. I'm a member of the Seshumani Metanetra, as well as Shawn, which left and went over to Dr. Mahal. We got quite a few shows. You got Sarnetta, who's live, Dr. Oyama and we live too. And but you know, he's a part of the Seshus, the Tepara, part of the Seshus. So please go support the Seshuma Metanetra. You know, for those that may not know what group, you know, what the Seshuma Metanetra is, a like-minded group of individuals who are studying the Seshuma Metanetra, which is the writing script, and the language, which is Runny Kemet. All, you know, so we got a website. It is Seshuma Metanetra, www.seshumetanetra.com. So go check out the website. If you want to take the class at the beginner course, you can also find it on that website. If you want to buy the published work, a rebuttal to Walter Williams, have the ancient hieroglyphs been deciphered. That publication is on there. The beginner's course of the Seshmeta book is on there. The penmanship book by Imiket is also on the website. It's numerous other articles by Sabo Wujawa on there. So go check that out, as well as our YouTube channel, Seshuma Ani Metanetra, which is on the not the YouTube, but the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook channel, Facebook page. Also, a member of Master Warrior Clan, as well as any of Red Shawn Khalfani. go subscribe to that channel. I'll be back and forth from both channels. So please go subscribe to that channel. We got a lot of content on that channel. We specialize in West African tradition. We have a lot of West African information on there, but we touch on Central Africa. We got Central African information, East Africa information, North Africa information, and South Africa information as well as on that platform. So please go and support these platforms and support these brothers and sisters who are day in and day night, day in and day in and night researching, you know what I'm saying, and studying and sharing this information with y'all, man. Again, appreciate y'all for tuning in because y'all could have been doing anything else with y'all time. Peace to everybody that's in the chat now. Peace to those who came in the chat, popped out in the chat, came back in the chat, popped out to the chat. Peace to those who may be coming in the archives later on to watch the video. Peace and love to y'all. On that note, I want to say Black African Power. Y'all have a good night, man, and we'll see y'all next week. I guess next week when you think you'll be ready next week, brother Sutekh.
Yeah, I'll be ready next week. Sure, I'm ready before then. So yeah, I'll be ready.
All right. So tune in next week or next Sunday or earlier than that for Brother Sutekh's presentation. Get the people the name of the presentation that you got coming up.
It is astrology. The presentation is on astrology. I'm gonna be touching on is it scientific or is it pseudoscientific? So we'll be dealing with that, and I go into if it's in any indigenous African cultures also. So yeah, that's what we'll be dealing with.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting, man. Yeah, man. So y'all be looking for that. I got and I may come back tonight, but I doubt it very seriously now. I'm tired. I was supposed to go on Mossi today and do something on the Mossi today. But I got tied up, and I said I was gonna probably come on late tonight. If I feel like it, I may. If not, it'll be next week. I got a presentation, water in Africa, and it's specifically dealing water in Africa, the Nile River. So I'll be touching on the Remich, the Kimatu, and not only just with the Remich, but majority of the presentation we're going to be on the Nile, which we know is one of the longest rivers in the world. I think it's 4,166 or 68 square miles long. It runs through the Sudan, Ethiopia, all the way up. So I'll be touching on why water is so important in Africa, but like I said, specifically it'll be just in North Africa, dealing with the Kimatu and the Remich, but I'll touch on it in other areas in West Africa, other ethnic groups, and why water is important, which you will see is similar in North Africa as well, how important water is and why they deify water. And throughout Africa, Central, South, West, you see they deified water. So a lot of their deities were water. They named it, even in you will see in the Orisha culture, you see Yemiya, um, um, and the other Orisha river or ocean deities, and I touch on that and other different ethnic groups, and then they call the Nile River the Happy Eritis, which the Happy River, they deified the water, and water was one of their deities. You know what I'm saying, as well as the sun. A lot, the African tradition, African cultures, they deified everything that was important to them, especially for their survival. So we're going to talk about water and even explain why these different cultures deify water, and the different things about water, in which we could say the same thing, because we need water. those same way that they understood water and the aspect of water and what water does for us. Water is our survival as well, because if we didn't have water, we'll be out of here too. So I'll talk about, I'll talk about that in the many aspects of what water what water does for us, and etc. in that presentation. That's gonna be a pretty nice presentation as well. And I drop a fun fact in there too off of the Kemet, because a lot of it I'll be talking about the Remich and Kemet, but I'll be dealing with African totality, but a lot of it is in Kemet. So we'll talk about a post that I can't find that Brother Garfield posted in it. And some crazy guy was saying that it wasn't named Kemet. And he's actually correct, it wasn't named Kemet. And if you go look in the Old Kingdom, so you look in pre-dynastic and you look in the Old Kingdom, there was nothing in the writing called Kemet or Tay Mary. It came way later, and we'll discuss what was the name when you attested in the Old Kingdom. So I just a fun fact that I just drop in there since guy, and I give the sources and stuff in there as well. Somebody got the mic. Will somebody ask something? Oh,
that might have been me. My fault, Kofi.
Oh no, you good, man.
But
anyway,
if I can one day, I don't mind coming up here and having that conversation about what happened in the house with my baby girl.
Oh yeah,
we
we could do that next week too, man. Like we want to try to keep this, try to keep Kofi Piesie TV consistent. I know we get consistent, and then we, we start trickling and doing a little bit here and there, or we may go a month without doing something. I'm not gonna do that no more because, I was, giving most of my time to Mossi Warrior Clan, and I'm still gonna give my time. I'm just gonna have to, you know, try to keep the content on both channels, you know what I'm saying? Because this is my baby too. So we trying to be consistent, and a lot of people be wanting to come on. Wanting, Kofi Piesie TV to go live, and they be wanting to hear from me as well as these other brothers. So I'm gonna try, hopefully my Kofi Piesie TV family and the families and research team can continue to help the channel grow, get their information that they want to get, the information that they want to get off as well. So we'll come back next week too. So we gonna just we had named the show, but we'll do that next week too, boss. So we'll do that show, and we'll do T'Challa show next week too, man. Cause I forgot what we wanted to call it, but it's a very important subject, man, that we need to touch on, man. And then like something off camera that we mentioned, especially with black men, we need to touch on that subject that's pertaining around that too, man. We need to deal with real life issues too. We can talk about Africa and African traditions and other things. We need to we need to talk about real life issues that are happening right here amongst us in real time as well too. So y'all be on the lookout for that as well next week, man. So on that note, man, again, Black African Power, man, and we'll see y'all next week, man, with 2 shows, man, 2 powerful shows, man. And we out of here, man. Thanks for the support, man. Peace. If I can get it back to where I'm at. Oh, let me start sharing my shit. I can't end nothing without, yeah.